So, what happens when one country does something wrong to another?
What about when civilians are unfairly targeted, or borders are crossed, or an army invades without warning?
If someone breaks into your home, you call the cops. But who do you call when a country breaks the rules?
Who gets to decide what counts as justice in the world?
And who polices the planet?
Some might say the answer is international law. G'day, I'm Sherry.
And I'm Shannon. Welcome back to Put It Plainly, the show where we take the world's biggest ideas and explain them in plain English.
Today we're tackling a big one. What exactly is international law? How does it work, and why should we care for it?
Whether it's about war, trade, or human rights, this global rulebook quietly shapes our daily lives in more ways than we realise. So let's put it plainly.
You see, the point of any law is to regulate behaviour so that justice can be achieved.
We like to think people are basically decent, and that's true. But let's be honest, if we trusted everyone completely, we'd all leave our doors unlocked at night.
But we don't. And that's because human behaviour is not in fact perfect. Folks do the wrong thing, and that's why we have systems in place to ensure that justice is done.
And that's what keeps society from falling apart.
Inside a country, those systems have clear boundaries: local, state and federal. Each level deals with its own kind of disputes.
But when a whole country rather than a single person does the wrong thing, how do you take that to court? You can't exactly call the cops.
Well, that's where international law comes in. It's humanity's attempt to make the world play by the rules.
To wrap our heads around this, we've got to take a dive back in time.
You see, in the early days, there were no countries or courts, just tribes fighting over food, territories and survival.
Over time, tribes became kingdoms, kingdoms became empires, and wars became a way of settling who got to rule what.
So for most of our story, power was in fact the law. As long as your army won, you could just about get away with doing whatever.
But humans slowly realised that endless wars were a bad idea.
The first real attempt to put limits on conflict came in 1648 with the Treaty of Westphalia.
That treaty ended the 30 Years' War in Europe, and it introduced the idea that each nation is sovereign, meaning it has the right to control what happens inside its own borders.
That idea is still the foundation of international law today, which is by and large embodied in a series of treaties between countries.
So after the chaos of Napoleon's wars, the great powers met again at the Congress of Vienna in 1815 to try and create a bit of balance and peace in Europe.
That barely worked for a few decades, then back to war it was for pretty much the rest of the 1800s, only more frequent and more brutal with technological advances due to the Industrial Revolution.
The 1900s started out with the Japanese-Russo War of 1905, the first time a non-European power, Japan, managed to pull off a decisive win against a European imperial power, Russia, in the Industrial Age.
With the kinds of technological advances now at play, war as a measure of first resort was no longer a formula that could go on forever. So another attempt came to outlaw war in the form of the Kellogg-Briand Pact in 1928.
Noble idea, but it just didn't last very long.
That's right. Within a decade, Nazi Germany invaded Poland and the world was back at it again.
World War II changed everything. 2 atomic bombs dropped on Japan, tens of millions killed, entire cities flattened.
Humanity looked at all that destruction and said, never again.
So in 1945, leaders from around the world gathered in San Francisco and created something new, the United Nations.
Now, one of its key figures was an Australian, Dr. H.V. Evatt, who played a huge role in writing the UN Charter and making sure that smaller nations had a voice, not just the big powers.
Yeah, making sure everyone gets a fair go in true Aussie fashion. Now, Doc Evatt, as he was known, went on to become the president of the UN General Assembly in 1948.
Hey, not bad for a bloke from Maitland, New South Wales. So the idea behind the UN was simple but ambitious: to give countries a place to talk it out instead of fighting.
The UN Charter became like a constitution of international law. It set out principles like respect for sovereignty, peaceful settlement of disputes, and the prohibition of aggression.
It was a big step towards a world that settles problems with diplomacy first and force last.
So how does this whole system actually work?
You see, the UN is made up of 193 member states.
The heart of it is the General Assembly. It's like a global parliament where every country, big or small, gets one vote.
Then there's the Security Council, which deals with peace and security. It has 15 members, but 5 of them are permanent: the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, and China.
Those 5 have veto power, meaning if any one of them says no, a resolution can't go through. That's why the UN sometimes gets stuck when those big powers disagree.
The Economic and Social Council focuses on human rights, development, and global well-being.
The Secretariat is basically the UN's public service, run by the Secretary General, who's like the world's top diplomat.
And then there's the International Court of Justice, ICJ, based in The Hague, the Netherlands. That's the UN's main judicial body.
It handles disputes between states, stuff like borders, trade, or treaty violations.
But if it's about individuals accused of war crimes, that's where the International Criminal Court, the ICC, steps in.
The ICC isn't technically part of the UN, but it works closely with it. It's where leaders can be held accountable for crimes against humanity. These courts aren't perfect, but they set a powerful precedent.
They tell the world that even presidents and generals aren't above the law. The UN isn't just about peacemaking. It's got hundreds of agencies dealing with every issue under the sun.
The World Health Organization handles pandemics and public health.
UNESCO deals with education, science, and culture.
The IMF and World Bank manage global finance and development.
The WTO, or the World Trade Organization, sets the rules of global trade.
And the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, brings together 38 of the world's most developed countries to share data and coordinate policies on things like taxes, transparency, and economic growth.
It's not a lawmaking body like a parliament, but its standards often become the models for national laws.
Together, these organizations make up what we call the rules-based international order.
Now look, of course, none of this is perfect. International law has some serious weaknesses.
The biggest one is enforcement. Inside a country, laws are backed by police and courts, but at the international level, there's no global police force.
The UN can impose sanctions or authorize peacekeeping missions, but it depends on countries agreeing to play along.
And when the big powers disagree, things often grind to a halt.
Some critics say international law is basically law without teeth.
But here's the thing, even without an enforcer, it still matters because it shapes behaviour, reputation, and global pressure.
Countries don't want to be branded as rogue states. Even dictators want legitimacy and recognition.
And that's why they still show up at the UN, still sign treaties, and still care what the world thinks.
Now, there's another criticism we often hear. Some say the UN is a bloated bureaucracy, or that it's biased, or that it's ineffective.
And depending on who you ask, these might be valid concerns that should be up for debate. After all, many critics feel the UN spends more time talking than acting.
Yeah, but let's be clear though, without a body like this, it'd be absolute chaos.
Well, that's right. Imagine a world with no shared rules, no neutral space to negotiate, no global agencies to coordinate disaster relief or peacekeeping.
That'd be absolute mayhem. Every conflict would basically risk spiraling into full-scale war. Every trade dispute could collapse economies. Every pandemic could spread unchecked.
Look, the UN might not be perfect, but it's better than the alternative of not having a global body like it.
Doc Everett and others who set it up after World War II knew that the only way to keep peace was to build strong institutions that encourage countries to talk it out before going all-out war.
And for all of its flaws that the system has mostly worked,
some people say international law gives too much power to unelected global bodies.
That's the nationalist argument that global rules undermine local sovereignty.
Others argue that cooperation is the only way to handle global challenges like climate change, pandemics, or cybercrimes.
That's the internationalist side, that no country can go it alone anymore.
The truth is somewhere in between. Countries still have to protect their own interests, but the world also needs shared principles to keep order.
The real question isn't whether we want global rules, it's what kind of rules and who gets to write them.
Even with all of its flaws, international law is what stops the world from turning into a jungle.
It gives us a framework for how nations deal with one another, whether that's trade, borders, or war.
It's what allows diplomacy to come before destruction.
It's what lets countries like Australia have a voice on the world stage instead of being pushed around by major players.
And it's what keeps humanity moving, however slowly, towards justice.
Because while it might not always work perfectly, it still gives us something to point to when we say, that just ain't right.
International law is a moral compass, not a perfect one, but without it, there'd be no direction at all.
International law also reminds us that civilization isn't just about borders or armies, it's about a shared understanding.
So next time you see a headline about a UN meeting or a global treaty, remember this: the fact that countries are even sitting down to talk instead of fighting is already a win.
So that's international law. It might sound abstract, but it serves a vital purpose.
It's humanity's attempt to keep itself in check. And while it has a lot of room for improvement, it's pretty much the closest thing we've got to justice at a global level.
And that's the whole point. If you like it, hit that subscribe button and let us know your own thoughts in the comments below.
Thanks for watching. See you next time on Put It Plainly.